Hey everybody, Anish here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious, back at you today with some simple ways to use body language to get a powerful leg up in every single interview and hiring interaction you have. You know, this is one of those cases where we as adults get so wrapped up in the complexity in the brain that the simple, obvious things, and sometimes the obvious things that matter way more than the brain work, gets ignored. And certainly when it comes to body language, it's amazing how often I see otherwise deserving candidates and professionals get passed up early stage for roles because of ineffective body language. Look, it's really important to remember that no matter how perfectly, quote unquote, you answer a question, especially the earlier on you are in the hiring process, the more the final judgment is based on the nonverbals. You know, people have done studies about this over and over again, and they've done interviewer and interviewee examples with an observer from the outside. The observer can't hear anything that's going on. The observer will reach oftentimes the exact same conclusions that the interviewer does. Why? Because you're picking up on body language, you're picking up on tonality, you're picking up on the vibe, you're picking up on the energy. You're making a kind of value judgment in terms of the human being that is in front of you, right? And if you don't pass that, then all the great answers in the world rarely is enough to overcome that. Because yes, these are qualifications, these are skills, all of that, that's great. But if it's not so unbelievably, ludicrously crazy one of one that no one else can, even at the beginning, compete against you, it's unlikely that you're going to move forward, because we are human beings. And at the end of the day, we want to be working with people who we feel that sense of kinship to. So how can you foster that? How can you make sure that whether it's a face-to-face interview or a Zoom interview or whatever you've got going on, that you are taking ownership of that? And most importantly, you've got to understand, body language is not a means and ends to itself, okay? Body language sends a series of signals. And by controlling the body language or having better control of the body language, you have better control over the signals that you are sending out. And that's very, very key, because in the beginning of hiring, minimal signals have an exaggerated impact, right? So here are three simple things to think about, three signals that you want to focus your body language and other efforts around that will help give you an edge, okay? The very first one, make sure your number one goal is to make sure that this person feels at ease at the beginning. Not make sure that you prove yourself, not make sure that you slide your resume over and that you start answering, not make sure that you pretend to ask how this person is doing before placidly sort of waiting for the conversation to start. No, I mean your number one goal when you jump on that Zoom session, when you hop onto that phone, when you go into that face-to-face meeting, whatever that is, how can I make this person feel at ease? How can I break the ice? How can I share something that matters to me? Not a BS ice starter, something that really matters. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, how about something recently that happened to your family that you'd like to share? How about something that happened, a little joke, something that genuinely made you laugh? It's about being honest and real and not blowing through that, right? Here's another thing that you can do. Imagine someone that you are doing this for, right? If it's your kids, I think about my kids all the time. I can think about Mickey, Henry, and Teddy, and I can visualize who they are, and I can actually have pictures. I'll even have them on my computer desktop, because I'll do a lot of calls from this area, and I'll look at them and I'll say to myself, do it for them. Make sure that when you show up on this conversation, you are a representative for them. How would you treat this person? Would you get defensive, or would you go that extra mile, right? I want to foster this energy. I want to foster this quality. And I want to make sure that when I jump onto that call or that meeting or whatever, that I'm bringing my absolute best self. The best thing you can do to ensure an interview goes well is spending an overabundance of time before the interview, getting yourself into that good mode, getting yourself into a place where you are at ease, where you feel comfortable. That doesn't mean you lack energy, right? That doesn't mean that you're going in there as a zombie, but that you're in a good, connected place. One thing that I found works is spending good quality time with my family immediately before a high-stakes professional thing. because that keeps me in that connected place and it keeps me around the people that I'm doing this for anyway. So how can I make sure people feel at ease? Another simple thing that you can do is when you're on a Zoom session, don't make contact just with your screen, right? Look right into the camera. And again, imagine that you're talking to someone that you love. Imagine that you're visualizing someone that you love and that you care for. If you make this connection here, this also helps support the fact that you are plugged in, you are present, and you are committed to making sure this person feels comfortable. If they're not comfortable and they don't feel that sense of rapport, nothing else in the interview is going to go the way that you want. So you've got to get that right. Here's the other one, okay? Be the expert. A huge reason I will see otherwise qualified people tank it. I remember I was working with someone who's an amazing digital innovation leader. He's like, Anish, I can't figure out why I keep getting passed over for these roles over and over again. I'm like, all right, let's jump on to a Zoom session. Let's see. He's like, Anish, I'm telling you, I just don't know what it is. I'm telling you I'm an expert at this. I'm telling you I'm an expert. I'm like, pal, hold on. Do you see what you're doing? He had been doing this for so long, it had been like an ingrained habit. But of course, no one wants to hear from an expert who can't even make eye contact and has his head buried down, right? So something as simple as practicing in front of a mirror, right? Making sure that you're asking yourself, what am I getting out of this weird behavior? What am I getting out of this when I undercut myself as an expert? When I make excuses, people will do this all the time. Instead of saying this is the right way to go, that's the wrong way, we say, I'd like to politely suggest that this is the right way and what you guys are doing aren't exactly where you need to go. No. Call it out, right? So ask yourself, why have you been pulling your punches, right? Why have you been going soft on making a stand? Because look, they wouldn't be talking to you if you weren't interested. And part of being interested means they want to hear things from you in a way that either moves something forward, challenges them, or brings something new into the picture. They didn't select you in there unless they're a toxic employer. They didn't bring you in for the interview to be a yes man or a yes woman. So I want you to ask yourself, how can I be more of that expert in the room? How can I make more of a stand? How can I draw out and even exaggerate the industry trends that are going on, good, bad, or ugly, and make a stand for what I need, what I believe, and what I don't? If you're going into interviews and absolutely everything that's coming out of your mouth is being agreed to by everyone, you're not standing for much of anything. So step number one is, how can I be more of an expert? And one little psychological trick that helps a lot, okay? Where do you feel like a bit of the master of the universe? We all have this, you know? For some people, it's fishing. For other people, it's like when I play radio control cars. I've been doing that since I was 7 years old, right? I have an ease with it. You know what I mean? I just feel comfortable even when I'm uncomfortable, right? Could you surround yourself with things like that? If you're a big fishing fan, do you have fishing equipment, cool things that you can have around? I was working with someone who was building and was working to build the perfect dream house for him and his wife in Maine. So he had features of that house all around where he was doing calls. What makes you feel that way? And can you bring that in? I had a pair of boots that I wore in my acting days for the better part of 10 years because I could not lose when I wore those things. I had such positive history associated with it that just putting those on gave me a ballast, right? Allowed me to feel like more of an expert so I could operate like more of an expert and yes, challenge when I needed to. All right? Here's the last one. Be present above all else. I cannot stress this enough. Interview preparation is not an interview. Any more than script work and analyzing a character is the same as actually being on a movie set doing the scene. When you're there, you're improvising. So absolutely everything that you are researching, all the background stuff about the person that you're speaking with, all of that is great. But understand that the moment that the interview starts, whatever's there is there. Whatever you can utilize, you can utilize. But this is not an intellectual show. And you're really doing yourself a disservice if you've done so much research, you're so congested in the idea sphere that you're not paying attention, that you're not connected, that you forget that an interview at its best is something that you create together. And a big part of the reason people get passed up is that they're so obsessed with saying the right thing, trying to outthink what the next question is going to be, that they're just not connected. I feel insulted. I feel neglected because I don't feel I'm contacted with you. So the number one thing, make as many mistakes as you want to, flub as many times as you want to, but be present in this moment. Feel something in this moment. Try to suss out what is going on with this person. Understand that the greatest respect is not always to have the perfect answer in front of you. All right? So these are the big three. Focus on making people feel at ease. Use the physical and psychological hacks I'm advising you there. Be the expert. Use the hack for that, especially in terms of how you set the scene, and be present above all else. Okay. Remember, you can throw away all of this, flub all of it, but if you're connected, you will create something of value. Have some faith in yourself. All right. Join me on helloanish.com. Keep the questions coming. Thanks, guys.